Look around you. Do you feel trapped by your circumstances? By your job, your debt, your city, or your family? It feels like these physical walls are solid and immovable, doesn't it? The bank account that never grows, the opportunities that never come, the relationships that drain you, they all seem like concrete facts, like iron bars of a cage you cannot escape. But Wallace D, Wattles, the architect of the science of getting rich, declared that this feeling is an illusion, a trick of perception that keeps millions enslaved. He taught that there exists a specific mental force that, when properly applied, makes physical circumstances as fluid as water, as malleable as clay in the hands of a master sculptor. It doesn't matter how deep in the hole you are, how insurmountable your obstacles appear, or how long you've been stuck. This force overpowers reality itself. The walls you see are not walls at all. They are merely shadows cast by the absence of this power in your mind, and shadows vanish the moment you turn on the light. The pain you feel right now is the pain of being a victim of your environment, the soul-crushing belief that you cannot get rich until the economy changes, until your boss gives you a raise, until you move to a new city, until your family supports you, until the stars align in your favor. You wake up every morning and scan your surroundings for permission to be great, for a sign that it's finally your turn, for external validation that you are allowed to thrive. This is the prison of circumstance, and its bars are forged from your own acceptance of powerlessness. You have been taught to believe that the outer world is the cause, and your inner world is the effect. That you must wait for things to get better before you can feel better, that you must see the money before you can think like a wealthy person. But Wallace Wattles reversed this entire equation, and in doing so he handed you the master key to your cell. He said, "Most people wait for their circumstances to change so they can change their mind. This is backwards. You must change your mind to force your circumstances to shift. This is the reverse bridge, the secret inversion that separates masters from slaves." Wattles called this mental force dominion, and it is not a metaphor or a pleasant philosophy. It is a literal power, as real as electricity, as measurable as gravity, as undeniable as the force that makes a seed break through concrete to reach the sun. When you activate this dominion force within your consciousness, you cease to be a creature shaped by your environment and become a creator who shapes the environment itself. The promise I make to you today is not that you will learn to cope with your circumstances or manage them or make peace with them. The promise is that you will learn to liquefy your hardest obstacles, to dissolve the walls that have held you captive, and to reshape your environment at will. You will discover that your mind, when properly directed, is stronger than any physical fact, more powerful than any external condition, more absolute than any situation you currently face. This is not about positive thinking or wishful hoping. This is about understanding and wielding the supreme force in the universe, the force of conscious, purposeful thought acting upon the formless substance from which all things are made. What you are about to learn in this video is the ultimate power move in the science of getting rich, the hidden mechanism that Wattles reserved for those who were ready to take full responsibility for their reality. This is not for the faint of heart or the half-committed. This is for those who are tired of being pushed around by circumstances, who are ready to stand up and claim their rightful place as the dominant force in their own lives. Here is the pact we make today. In this video, you will learn why your mind is stronger than any physical fact, how thought acts upon the substance of reality itself, and why your current circumstances are nothing more than yesterday's thinking crystallized into form. You will discover the three-step Dominion Protocol, a precise method to look directly at any problem, debt, lack, limitation, obstacle, and mentally dismantle it, not through force or struggle, but through the application of a superior power. This protocol has 3 stages: withdrawing your consent from the problem's authority, applying the mental solvent that dissolves its structure, and acting in a way that proves your dominion over it. But I must warn you, there is a specific way of talking about your problems that instantly drains this force and hands your power back to the circumstance, like opening a valve and letting all the pressure escape. It is a habit that 99% of people engage in daily, believing it brings them closer to others, believing it is harmless, even therapeutic. It is not. It is a silent assassin of your creative power, and it rebuilds your prison faster than you can tear it down. This is what I call the power leak, and I will reveal exactly what it is and how to stop it in part 4 of this video. If you have ever wondered why your positive thinking doesn't seem to work, why your affirmations feel hollow, why you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, the power leak is the reason. Stay with me until part 4, and you will understand why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while others struggle for years with no results. Right now, I want you to do something that will activate the dominion force within you. Go to the comments and type the words, "I have dominion." Not "I want dominion" or "I hope for dominion." No, you declare it as a present fact. By typing these words, you are withdrawing your agreement with the illusion of powerlessness and claiming your authority over your circumstances. And if you are ready to learn the secrets that the masters use to bend reality to their will, subscribe to this channel and join the master's legacy. This is not entertainment. This is your liberation. Let us begin. Wattles opened his masterwork with a statement so radical, so absolute, that most readers gloss over it without grasping its full implications. You are a creator, not a creature of circumstance. These 8 words contain the entire philosophy of dominion, the complete reversal of the victim mentality that enslaves humanity. To be a creature of circumstance means to be shaped, molded, and determined by external forces, by the economy, by your upbringing, by your genetics, by the actions of others, by the randomness of fate. It means you are an effect, a product, a result of conditions outside your control. But to be a creator means you are the cause, the source, the originating force from which your reality flows. It means that circumstances do not create you, you create circumstances. This is not a motivational slogan or an empowering metaphor. This is Wattles describing the actual mechanics of reality, the way the universe is structured at its deepest level. And the key to understanding this mechanics lies in what he called the thinking stuff. The thinking stuff, according to Wattles, is the formless, intelligent substance that permeates all space, penetrates all matter, and is the raw material from which all physical things are made. It is not separate from you. It is the very medium in which you live. Like a fish lives in water or a bird lives in air. Every atom of your body, every molecule of the chair you sit on, every particle of the money in your bank account or the lack thereof, all of it is this thinking stuff in various states of formation. Now, here is the crucial point. This substance is responsive to thought. It is not dead matter that you must push around with physical effort. It is living, intelligent, and impressionable. When you think, you are not merely generating electrical impulses in your brain. You are impressing your thought upon the thinking stuff, and that stuff begins to arrange itself according to the pattern of your thought. This is not magic. This is the fundamental law of creation. Thought is the only power that can act upon formless substance and cause it to take form. Since your thought acts upon this substance, and since this substance is the basis of all physical things, your thought is potentially superior to things. Let that sink in. Your thought is not weaker than your circumstances. It is stronger. Your mental image of wealth is not less real than your physical poverty. It is more real because the mental image is the cause and the physical condition is the effect. Circumstances are nothing more than past thoughts that have hardened into form like water freezing into ice. They appear solid, permanent, and unchangeable, but they are not. They are merely energy in a temporary state, and energy can always be transformed. The debt you see in your bank account, the job you hate, the body you are ashamed of, these are not fixed realities imposed upon you by an indifferent universe. They are the crystallized results of past thinking, your own or that of others, and they can be dissolved just as easily as they were formed. This is why Wattles insisted that you must stop seeing yourself as a victim of your environment. The moment you believe that your circumstances are more powerful than your mind, you hand over your creative authority to dead matter. You make the effect greater than the cause, the shadow more substantial than the light. But the truth is the exact opposite. New powerful thought dissolves old circumstances, the way sunlight melts snow. You do not need to fight your problems, to struggle against them, to overcome them through sheer force of will. You need only to apply a superior force, the force of conscious, purposeful, sustained thought, directed toward the reality you wish to create. When you do this, the old forms cannot stand. They must yield. They must dissolve. They must rearrange themselves into the new pattern you are holding in your mind. This is not wishful thinking. This is the science of getting rich, the science of dominion, the science of creation itself. But most people never apply this force because they do not believe it exists. They have been hypnotized by the appearance of solidity in their circumstances, mesmerized by the seeming permanence of their problems. They look at their debt and say, this is real. They look at their lack and say, this is a fact. And in saying so, they give those conditions the only power they have, the power of agreement. Your circumstances have no power except the power you give them by believing in their authority over you. The moment you withdraw that belief, the moment you stop agreeing with the appearance and start impressing the thinking stuff with a new vision, the entire structure of your reality begins to shift. It must shift because the substance is responsive to thought, and your thought is the dominant force. This is the central concept, the foundation upon which all of Wattles' teaching rests. You are not here to be shaped by circumstances. You are here to shape them. You are not a creature, you are a creator. And the tool of creation is not your hands, not your effort, not your struggle. It is your mind. The implications of this are staggering. If you truly grasp what Wattles is saying, you realize that there is no situation you cannot change, no problem you cannot dissolve, no limitation you cannot transcend. You are not at the mercy of the economy, the government, your boss, your family, or your past. You are the operative force in your universe, and everything around you is responsive to the way you think. The poverty you see is not a punishment, it is feedback. It is showing you the quality of your past thinking, the patterns you have been running unconsciously, the beliefs you have been holding without examination. And the moment you change those patterns, the moment you begin to think from a place of wealth rather than lack, from a place of power rather than victimhood, from a place of dominion rather than subjugation, the substance must respond. It has no choice. It is law. This is why Wattles could make such bold promises in his book. He was not speaking from hope or faith in the religious sense. He was speaking from knowledge of how reality operates. He understood that the physical world is not the primary reality. It is the secondary reality, the effect of the mental world. And if you can master the mental world, if you can learn to think with precision, with purpose, with unwavering faith in the responsiveness of the thinking stuff, then mastering the physical world becomes inevitable. You do not need to know how the money will come, how the opportunity will appear, how the problem will be solved. You need only to hold the vision, to impress the substance, to maintain the mental state of dominion, and the how will take care of itself. The thinking stuff is infinitely intelligent, infinitely resourceful, and infinitely abundant. It will find a way, 1,000 ways, to bring your vision into form if you do not interfere with doubt, fear, and the acceptance of limitation. So the first step in activating the dominion force is to accept deeply and completely that you are a creator, not a creature, not a victim, not a product of your circumstances. You are the one who impresses the thinking stuff, and the thinking stuff creates your circumstances. This is the truth, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You may forget it. You may fall back into old patterns of victim thinking, but somewhere in the back of your mind you will always know, I am the cause, not the effect. I am the creator, not the creature. And that knowledge, once planted, will grow until it dominates your entire consciousness and transforms your entire life. Now let me give you an analogy that will make the logic of dominion unshakable, so clear that you will never again doubt your power over circumstances. Your current problems, your debt, your lack, your limitations, your obstacles, are like blocks of ice. They look hard, heavy, and solid. They appear immovable, as if they have weight and substance and permanence. When you look at them, they seem more real than your dreams, more substantial than your desires, more powerful than your thoughts. You can touch them, measure them, see them with your physical eyes, and so you conclude that they are facts, that they are the ultimate reality you must accept. But this conclusion is an illusion born of ignorance about the nature of matter and energy. Those blocks of ice are not solid at all. They are just energy in a frozen state, water molecules that have slowed down and locked into a rigid structure due to cold temperature. They look permanent, but they are not. They are temporary forms that can be changed instantly if you apply the right force. Your mental force is like heat. When you think a weak, timid, half-hearted thought, "I wish things were better," or "maybe someday I'll be rich," you are applying a little heat to the ice, but not enough to change its state. The ice remains solid. The circumstance remains unchanged. You feel like you tried, like you did your affirmations and visualizations, but nothing happened, and so you conclude that this mental stuff doesn't work. But the problem is not that the law doesn't work. The problem is that you didn't apply enough force. You turned on a match when you needed a blowtorch. You gave the ice a gentle warmth when you needed to blast it with concentrated, sustained, intense heat. The ice didn't melt because you didn't raise the temperature high enough. And so you go back to accepting the solidity of your circumstances, never realizing that you were 1 degree away from the breakthrough. But if you apply the concentrated heat of the dominion force, which is faith combined with purpose, vision combined with unwavering certainty, thought combined with feeling, the ice must melt. It is not a matter of hope or luck or chance. It is a law of physics. The solid must yield to the energetic. The frozen must surrender to the heat. The low vibration must be transmuted by the high vibration. This is not a spiritual platitude. This is thermodynamics applied to the mental plane. When you hold a vision of wealth with absolute faith, when you feel the reality of abundance as a present fact, when you refuse to be impressed by the appearance of lack, you are raising the temperature of your consciousness. And as that temperature rises, the frozen circumstances begin to soften, to crack, to melt, to flow, to rearrange themselves into the new form you are holding in your mind. You do not fight the ice. You do not chip away at it with effort and struggle. You simply raise the temperature, and the transformation happens automatically. This is why Wattles insisted that you must think and feel in a certain way. The certain way is the way of high temperature, the way of concentrated mental force, the way of dominion. It is not casual thinking or wishful hoping. It is purposeful, sustained, intense impression upon the thinking stuff. It is looking at your debt and seeing wealth. It is looking at your lack and feeling abundance. It is looking at your limitation and knowing freedom. And you do not do this once or twice. You do it continuously, relentlessly, until the old form can no longer hold its shape and collapses into the new one. The heat must be applied consistently, not sporadically. You cannot heat the ice for 5 minutes and then turn off the heat for an hour and expect the ice to melt. You must keep the heat on, keep the vision clear, keep the faith strong until the transformation is complete. Most people fail at this because they let the appearance of the ice convince them that nothing is happening. They apply the heat for a day or a week, and then they look at the ice and say, "See, it's still solid. This doesn't work." But what they don't realize is that ice doesn't melt all at once. First it softens, then it begins to crack, then small puddles form at the edges, then the cracks widen, then the structure collapses. And all of this is happening invisibly, beneath the surface, before you see any evidence with your physical eyes. The same is true with circumstances. When you begin to apply the dominion force, the first changes happen in the invisible realm, in the thinking stuff, in the formless substance that will eventually take form. You don't see it yet, but it is happening. The molecules are beginning to move, the energy is beginning to shift, the circumstances are beginning to loosen their grip. And if you keep the heat on, if you maintain the vision, if you do not waver, the physical evidence must eventually appear. This is the unshakable logic of dominion. The energetic is always superior to the solid. The cause is always greater than the effect. The mental is always more powerful than the physical. You are not trying to overcome your circumstances with mental force. You are recognizing that mental force is the only real force, and physical circumstances are merely its temporary expressions. When you change the force, the expression must change. It is law. It is inevitable. It is guaranteed. The only question is whether you will apply enough heat, whether you will sustain the vision long enough, whether you will refuse to be impressed by the appearance of solidity long enough for the transformation to complete itself. The ice will melt. The debt will dissolve. The lack will disappear. The limitation will vanish. Not because you fought it, not because you struggled against it, but because you applied a superior force and the inferior form had no choice but to yield. So stop looking at your problems as if they are your masters. They are not. They are frozen water and you are the sun. They are temporary forms and you are the formless force that shapes all forms. They are effects and you are the cause. The moment you truly understand this, the moment you feel it in your bones, the moment you stop agreeing with the appearance and start impressing the substance with your vision, the entire game changes. You are no longer a victim trying to survive. You are a creator learning to wield your power. And the more you practice, the more skilled you become, the faster the ice melts, until one day you look at a problem and it dissolves before you even finish forming the thought. This is mastery, this is dominion, this is your birthright. Before you can apply the dominion protocol, you must first achieve the required mental state, and that state is what I call sovereignty. Sovereignty is not arrogance or ego. It is the quiet, unshakable knowing that you are the operative force in your universe, that you are the one who decides what is real and what is not, what has power and what does not. It is the state of consciousness in which you stop looking up at your problems and start looking down at them, not with contempt, but with the serene authority of a king surveying his kingdom. Most people live their entire lives in a state of subjugation, bowing to circumstances, deferring to appearances, accepting the verdict of the physical world as final and absolute. They see a problem and immediately feel small, powerless, overwhelmed. They see a lack and immediately feel poor, limited, trapped. They see an obstacle and immediately feel defeated, hopeless, resigned. This is the consciousness of a slave, and a slave can never exercise dominion because dominion requires the recognition of your own supremacy. Sovereignty begins the moment you realize that you are not in your circumstances. Your circumstances are in you. They exist within the field of your consciousness, within the realm of your creative power, and they have no independent existence apart from your awareness of them. The debt does not exist out there as an objective fact that you must accept. The debt exists as a thought form in your mind, and you are the one sustaining it by continuing to think it, to feel it, to talk about it, to agree with it. The moment you withdraw your agreement, the moment you stop feeding it with your attention and emotion, it begins to lose its power over you. This is not denial. This is discernment. You are not pretending the debt doesn't exist in the physical world. You are recognizing that the physical world is not the final authority, that it is merely the effect of the mental world, and you have the power to change the mental world at any moment. To achieve sovereignty, you must make a fundamental shift in your identity. You must stop identifying as a person who has problems and start identifying as a consciousness that creates experiences. You are not a body with a mind. You are a mind with a body. You are not a person in a situation. You are a creative force expressing through a situation, and as a creative force, you are never at the mercy of your creations. A painter is not trapped by the painting. If he doesn't like it, he paints over it. A sculptor is not imprisoned by the sculpture. If it displeases him, he reshapes it. And you are not bound by your circumstances. If they do not reflect your vision, you impress the thinking stuff with a new vision, and the circumstances must change. This is sovereignty. The recognition that you are the artist, not the canvas, the creator, not the creation, the cause, not the effect. When you operate from sovereignty, your entire relationship with problems changes. You no longer fear them, because you know they have no power except the power you give them. You no longer fight them, because you know that fighting them is giving them your energy and attention, which only makes them stronger. You no longer complain about them, because you know that complaining is affirming their reality and your powerlessness. Instead, you look at them with the calm detachment of a master who knows that what he is seeing is not the truth, but merely the outpicturing of yesterday's thinking. And just as yesterday's thinking created this, today's thinking will create something new. The problem is not a wall, it is a mirror, showing you the quality of your past thoughts. And now that you see it, you can change it. Sovereignty also requires that you stop seeking permission from your circumstances to feel powerful. Most people wait for evidence before they believe, wait for money before they feel wealthy, wait for success before they feel confident. But this is backwards. The feeling must come first, because the feeling is the force that impresses the thinking stuff. If you wait for the circumstances to change before you change your feeling, you will wait forever, because the circumstances are the effect of the feeling, not the cause. You must feel wealthy now while you are still broke. You must feel powerful now while you are still stuck. You must feel successful now while you are still failing. This is the ultimate test of sovereignty. Can you claim your power before the evidence appears? Can you feel like a king while you are still dressed in rags? Can you walk with dominion while the world is telling you that you are defeated? If you can, you have activated the force that will change everything. The state of sovereignty is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is something you must reclaim every day, every hour, every moment that you are tempted to bow to circumstances. The world will constantly try to pull you back into subjugation, to convince you that you are small, limited, powerless. Your bank account will try to tell you that you are poor. Your job will try to tell you that you are trapped. Your body will try to tell you that you are weak. And every time you agree with these messages, you lose your sovereignty. But every time you refuse to agree, every time you stand firm in the knowledge of your creative power, every time you look at the problem and say, "You have no authority over me," you reclaim your throne. This is the daily practice of dominion. Not a one-time decision, but a moment-by-moment choice to remain sovereign in the face of all appearances. When you have achieved this state, when you can look at your worst problem and feel nothing but calm certainty that it will dissolve, when you can face your deepest lack and know with absolute faith that abundance is already on its way, when you can stand in the midst of chaos and feel the unshakable peace of one who knows he is the master, then you are ready for the Dominion Protocol. Then you are ready to apply the 3 steps that will dismantle any obstacle, dissolve any limitation, and reshape any circumstance. Sovereignty is the foundation. Without it, the protocol will not work, because you will be applying it from a state of fear and doubt rather than from a state of power and certainty. But with it, the protocol becomes a weapon of such precision and force that no problem can stand against it. So before you proceed, ask yourself, am I sovereign? Do I know deeply and completely that I am the operative force in my life? If the answer is yes, then let us move to the execution. The Dominion Protocol is a 3-step process that allows you to look directly at any problem, debt, lack, limitation, obstacle, and mentally dismantle it, not through force or struggle, but through the application of a superior power. This is not a technique for coping with your problems or managing them or making peace with them. This is a method for dissolving them at the root, for withdrawing the mental energy that sustains them and redirecting that energy toward the reality you wish to create. Each step is simple, but each step requires absolute commitment and unwavering focus. If you apply these steps half-heartedly, you will get half-hearted results. But if you apply them with the full force of your consciousness, with the concentrated heat of the Dominion Force, the problem must yield. Let us begin. Step 1. Withdraw your assent. Stop agreeing. The first and most critical step is to withdraw your agreement with the problem's authority over you. This is not denial, this is discernment. You are not pretending the problem doesn't exist in the physical world. You are recognizing that its existence in the physical world does not make it the ultimate truth, does not give it power over you, does not mean you must accept it as permanent. The moment you say, "This problem is big," you are giving the problem your power. The moment you say, "I am stuck," you are cementing your stuckness. The moment you say, "This is impossible," you are making it impossible. Every statement of limitation is an act of creation. You are using your creative power to build the very prison you want to escape. So the first step is to stop building the prison. Stop agreeing with the appearance. Stop affirming the reality of the lack. Stop giving your consent to the obstacle's dominance. This requires a level of mental discipline that most people have never developed. You have been trained your entire life to describe reality as you see it, to report on your circumstances accurately, to be honest about your problems. But what you call honesty is actually the act of affirming limitation, of using your word, your creative power, to reinforce the very conditions you want to change. When you say, "I am broke," you are not stating a fact, You are creating a fact. You are impressing the thinking stuff with the image of poverty, and the thinking stuff responds by maintaining that poverty. So step 1 is to stop this process. Look at the debt, look at the lack, look at the problem, and say internally, this is a temporary appearance. It is the result of past thinking. It has no power over me. I do not accept it as my reality. I withdraw my agreement. You do not need to say this out loud. You do not need to convince anyone else. You need only to convince yourself, to reclaim your mental sovereignty, to stop feeding the problem with your attention and emotion. This step alone will begin to loosen the grip of the circumstance because you are withdrawing the energy that was sustaining it. But you cannot stop here. Withdrawing your assent creates a vacuum, a space where the old form is beginning to dissolve, but the new form has not yet appeared. And nature abhors a vacuum. If you do not fill that space with a new vision, the old form will rush back in and reassert itself, often with even greater force. So you must immediately move to step 2. Step 2. Apply the solvent, thinking truth. Now you apply the heat. Now you impress the thinking stuff with the vision of what you want, with the truth of abundance, with the reality of your dominion. This is not wishful thinking or positive affirmation in the weak sense. This is mental force, applied with precision and intensity. You look directly at the lack, and you think the truth of abundance. There is infinite supply for me. The thinking stuff is responding to my vision. Money is flowing to me now from expected and unexpected sources. I am rich. You do not let the appearance impress you. You impress the appearance with your vision. This is the mental wrestling match where dominion is won, where the old form and the new form are battling for supremacy in the substance, and the one you energize with your thought and feeling will be the one that manifests. This step requires that you hold 2 contradictory things in your mind at the same time: the awareness of the current appearance and the vision of the desired reality. And you must give all your emotional energy to the vision, not to the appearance. This is the art of living in the end, of feeling the wish fulfilled, of thinking from the result rather than toward the result. Most people fail here because they look at the lack and feel lack, and then they try to cover it up with a thin layer of positive thinking. But the lack feeling is still there, still impressing the substance, still creating more lack. You must go deeper. You must feel the abundance so strongly, so vividly, so completely, that the appearance of lack becomes irrelevant, becomes a shadow that cannot stand in the light of your vision. This is not easy. This is the work. This is where most people give up and go back to complaining about their circumstances. But if you can hold the vision, if you can maintain the feeling, if you can refuse to be impressed by the appearance, the substance must respond. It has no choice. The key to this step is persistence. You do not apply the solvent once and expect the problem to dissolve instantly. You apply it continuously, every time the problem tries to assert its authority, every time the appearance tries to impress you, every time doubt creeps in. You meet the problem with the truth. You meet the lack with the vision of abundance. You meet the limitation with the knowing of freedom. And you do this not as a technique, not as a ritual, but as a way of life, as the natural expression of your sovereignty. Over time, as you persist in this practice, you will notice that the problem begins to lose its emotional charge, begins to feel less real, begins to fade in intensity. This is the sign that the solvent is working, that the ice is melting, that the old form is dissolving. Do not stop. Keep applying the heat until the transformation is complete. Step 3. Act as a conqueror expansion. The final step is to prove your dominion through action. You cannot shrink in the face of the obstacle. You must expand. You cannot hide from the problem. You must confront it with the energy of a conqueror. This does not mean fighting the problem or struggling against it. It means acting in a way that demonstrates your refusal to be limited by it. Wattles said that you must overfill your present place, and this is one of the most powerful instructions in the science of getting rich. If you are broke, you must act with the dignity and generosity of a king in small ways. If you are stuck in a dead-end job, you must do that job with such excellence, such enthusiasm, such mastery, that you prove you are too big for it. If you are living in a cramped apartment, you must treat that apartment with such care, such love, such attention, that you prove you are ready for a mansion. This physical action is not separate from the mental work, it is the completion of it. Thought impresses the substance, but action gives the substance a channel through which to manifest. When you act as a conqueror, when you move through the world with the energy of expansion rather than contraction, you are sending a signal to the thinking stuff that you are serious, that you are committed, that you are ready to receive. And the substance responds by bringing you opportunities, resources, and circumstances that match your energy. This is why Wattles insisted that you must do today what can be done today, that you must take every action that is before you with excellence and gratitude. Not because the action itself will solve the problem, but because the action is the physical expression of your mental dominion, and that expression accelerates the manifestation. Most people do the opposite. When they are broke, they act broke. They hoard, they scrimp, they shrink, they hide. When they are stuck, they act stuck. They complain, they procrastinate, they wait for someone to rescue them. And in doing so, they are affirming their limitation with both their thoughts and their actions, creating a double reinforcement of the very condition they want to escape. But when you act as a conqueror, when you expand in the face of contraction, when you give, when you feel like hoarding, when you move, when you feel like hiding, you are breaking the pattern. You are proving to yourself and to the universe that you are not defined by your circumstances, that you are bigger than your problems, that you are the master, not the slave. And this proof, this demonstration of dominion, is what seals the transformation and brings the new reality into form. The Dominion protocol is complete when all three steps are working together. You have withdrawn your assent from the problem's authority, you are continuously applying the solvent of truth thinking, and you are acting as a conqueror in every area of your life. When these three forces are aligned, when your thought, your feeling, and your action are all expressing dominion, the old reality cannot stand. It must dissolve. It must give way. It must be replaced by the new reality you are impressing upon the thinking stuff. This is not magic. This is law. This is the way creation works. And now you know the secret. The post-technique practice is simple but powerful. Whenever the obstacle tries to scare you, whenever the problem tries to reassert its authority, whenever the appearance tries to impress you with its solidity, laugh at it. Not a nervous laugh, not a dismissive laugh, but the deep, knowing laugh of one who sees through the illusion. Wattles said that you must feel that you are becoming rich, regardless of the bank balance, that you must cultivate the joy and gratitude of one who already has what he desires. This joy is not the result of the manifestation, it is the cause of it. It is the signal that you have won the mental battle, that you have claimed your dominion, that you are no longer impressed by circumstances, and when you can look at your worst problem and feel nothing but joy, nothing but certainty, nothing but the quiet confidence of a master who knows the outcome is inevitable, then the physical evidence must follow. It is law. Now we come to the refinement, the place where most people sabotage their own power without even realizing it. You can apply the Dominion protocol perfectly, you can achieve sovereignty, you can impress the thinking stuff with your vision, and then you can destroy all of it in a single conversation, in a single moment of weakness, in a single act of what I call the power leak. There are two fatal mistakes that drain the Dominion force faster than anything else. And if you are making either of these mistakes, you are working against yourself. You are rebuilding your prison as fast as you are tearing it down. Let me reveal them to you now so you can stop the leak and keep your power intact. Mistake number 1. Sympathy dumping. This is the power leak I promised to reveal in part 1. And it is the most insidious, the most socially acceptable, the most unconscious way that people give away their creative power every single day. Sympathy. Dumping is the act of complaining to friends, family, or even strangers about how hard your life is, how unfair your circumstances are, how much you are struggling in order to get sympathy, validation, and emotional support. It feels good in the moment. Someone listens, someone cares, someone says, "I'm so sorry, that's terrible, you don't deserve this." And you feel seen, understood, validated. But what you don't realize is that every time you describe your struggle as a victim, every time you paint yourself as powerless in the face of your circumstances, every time you use your words to affirm your limitation, you are cementing the walls of your prison. You are using your creative power, the power of the word, the power of thought expressed through speech, to rebuild the obstacle you want to destroy. This is not about being inauthentic or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about understanding that your words are not neutral, that they are not just descriptions of reality, they are acts of creation. When you say, "I'm so broke, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent," you are not just reporting a fact. You are impressing the thinking stuff with the image of poverty. You are affirming your lack. You are giving the problem your energy and attention, and the substance responds by maintaining that poverty. When you say, "I'm stuck in this dead-end job and there's no way out," you're not just venting frustration. You're creating stuckness. You're closing the doors that the universe was trying to open for you. You're using your word to build a wall around yourself. And the worst part is, you are doing it for a few moments of sympathy, for the temporary comfort of having someone agree with you that life is hard. But that comfort is a trap, and it costs you your dominion. A master never talks about his misfortunes. Not because he is in denial, not because he is pretending they don't exist, but because he knows that talking about them gives them power, gives them energy, gives them life. He knows that his word is his wand, and he will not use his wand to create more of what he doesn't want. If someone asks him how he is doing, and he is in the midst of a financial crisis, he does not lie, but he does not complain. He says, "I am in the process of a transformation. Things are shifting. I am moving toward abundance." He speaks the truth of where he is going, not the appearance of where he is, and in doing so, he keeps his power intact, he keeps the heat on, he keeps the dominion force active. This is not toxic positivity. This is strategic use of creative power. This is the difference between a victim and a master. If you want to test whether you are making this mistake, pay attention to your conversations for the next 24 hours. How often do you complain? How often do you describe your problems in vivid detail? How often do you seek sympathy by painting yourself as powerless? And notice how you feel after these conversations. Do you feel empowered, or do you feel more stuck? Do you feel like you are moving toward a solution, or do you feel like you are sinking deeper into the problem? The answer will tell you whether you are using your word to create or to destroy. And if you are destroying, you must stop immediately. You must make a vow. I will not complain about my circumstances. I will not seek sympathy for my problems. I will not use my word to affirm limitation. And if someone asks me about my struggles, I will speak the truth of my vision, not the appearance of my lack. This is the first refinement, and it is non-negotiable. Mistake number 2, fighting the old. The second fatal mistake is trying to fix your poverty by fighting systems, people, politics, or circumstances. This is the trap of activism without creation, of resistance without vision, of focusing all your energy on what you don't want instead of on what you do want. Wattles said it clearly: do not spend time in beating a dead carcass. The old reality is already dead. It is the outpicturing of past thinking, and it has no life except the life you give it by continuing to fight it. When you fight the old, when you rage against the injustice, when you spend your days arguing about what is wrong with the world, you are pouring your creative energy into the very thing you want to destroy. You are keeping it alive. You are giving it your attention, your emotion, your focus, and attention is energy, and energy creates. This does not mean you should be passive or apathetic in the face of injustice. It means you should understand the mechanics of creation. Fighting the old does not create the new. It only strengthens the old by giving it your energy, building the new so vigorously, so completely, so powerfully that the old simply fades away. That is the path of mastery. If you don't like the system, stop fighting the system and start building a new one. If you don't like your job, stop complaining about your boss and start creating a new source of income. If you don't like your circumstances, stop blaming the economy and start impressing the thinking stuff with a vision of abundance. The old will not yield to your resistance. It will only yield to your creation. And the moment you shift your focus from what you are against to what you are for, from what you are fighting to what you are building, the entire game changes. The reason this mistake is so common is that fighting feels like doing something. It feels active, engaged, righteous. But it is a false sense of power because you are still operating from the assumption that the external world is the cause and you are the effect, that you must change the world before you can change your life. But Wattles reversed this. You must change your life, your thinking, your feeling, your vision, and the world will change in response. The world is not your enemy. It is your canvas. It is not resisting you. It is responding to you. And if you are getting resistance, it is because you are sending out resistance. The moment you stop fighting and start creating, the resistance disappears because there is nothing to fight against. The substance is responsive, not resistant. It wants to give you what you are impressing upon it, but it cannot give you abundance if you are impressing it with images of lack. It cannot give you freedom if you are impressing it with images of oppression. It can only give you more of what you are focused on, more of what you are energizing with your thought and emotion. So the second refinement is this: stop fighting the old reality and start building the new one. Stop wasting your energy on what is wrong and start pouring it into what is right. Stop resisting what you don't want and start creating what you do want. This is not passivity. This is power. This is not denial. This is dominion. And the moment you make this shift, the moment you withdraw your energy from the battle and redirect it toward the vision, you will feel the dominion force surge within you like never before. You will feel like you have been set free from a weight you didn't even know you were carrying. And the circumstances will begin to shift so rapidly, so dramatically, that you will wonder why you ever wasted a single moment fighting when you could have been creating. Now let me share with you the master's tips, the specific instructions that Wattles gave to those who were ready to wield the dominion force at its highest level. These are not beginner teachings. These are the commands of a master to those who have already grasped the fundamentals and are ready to operate with precision and power. The first command is this: matter is fluid to the influence of your mind. Read that again. Matter is fluid, not solid, not fixed, not permanent. Fluid. It looks solid because your consciousness is vibrating at a frequency that perceives it as solid. But at the level of the thinking stuff, at the level of pure energy, matter is as fluid as water, as malleable as clay, as responsive as a mirror. And your mind is the force that shapes it, that molds it, that commands it to take the form you desire. This is not a metaphor, this is a description of reality at its deepest level. And when you truly grasp this, when you feel it in your bones, you will never again bow to circumstances, because you will know that they are fluid, that they are waiting for your command, that they will yield to your vision the moment you apply the dominion force. The second command is even more direct. You can master your fate, not influence it, not improve it, not cope with it. Master it. You are not here to negotiate with fate, to make peace with your limitations, to accept what life gives you. You are here to master your fate, to take full command of your destiny, to become the deliberate creator of your reality. And mastery is not something you hope for or wish for. It is something you claim, something you practice, something you prove every single day by refusing to be impressed by appearances and by impressing the thinking stuff with your vision. Mastery is not a distant goal. It is a present choice. And every time you choose to think from dominion rather than from victimhood, every time you choose to speak truth rather than limitation, every time you choose to act as a conqueror rather than a creature, you are mastering your fate. The third command is the most practical. You can make yourself what you will. This is the promise of self-creation, the recognition that you are not a fixed entity, not a finished product, not a victim of your genetics or your upbringing or your past. You are a work in progress, a consciousness in the process of becoming, and you have the power to make yourself into anything you desire. If you are weak, you can make yourself strong. If you are poor, you can make yourself rich. If you are limited, you can make yourself free. Not by changing your external circumstances first, but by changing your internal state, by impressing the thinking stuff with a new vision of yourself, and then by acting in harmony with that vision until the external circumstances have no choice but to conform. This is the ultimate power, not the power to change the world, but the power to change yourself, knowing that when you change yourself, the world must change in response. And the fourth command is the one that ties it all together. You can solve your problems. Not some of your problems, not the easy problems, all of your problems. Because every problem is just a frozen thought form, a block of ice that looks solid but is actually fluid, waiting for the heat of your dominion force to melt it. There is no problem too big, no obstacle too solid, no limitation too permanent to be dissolved by the power of purposeful thought applied with faith and persistence. The only reason a problem remains is because you are still agreeing with it, still feeding it with your attention, still affirming its reality with your words and actions. The moment you withdraw that agreement and apply the solvent of truth thinking, the problem begins to dissolve. And if you persist, if you keep the heat on, if you refuse to be impressed by the appearance, the problem must disappear. It is law. These are the master's tips, the commands that separate those who dabble in the science of getting rich from those who master it. And the question you must ask yourself is, am I ready to operate at this level? Am I ready to stop playing small, to stop making excuses, to stop blaming my circumstances and start commanding them? Am I ready to claim my dominion, to wield the dominion force, to prove that I am the master of my fate and the creator of my reality? If the answer is yes, then you must take these commands seriously. You must write them down, memorize them, repeat them to yourself every day until they become the foundation of your consciousness. Matter is fluid. I can master my fate. I can make myself what I will. I can solve my problems. These are not affirmations. These are statements of fact, descriptions of your true nature, reminders of the power you have always had but have forgotten how to use. And now that you remember, now that you know, there is no excuse for remaining small. There is only the choice. Will you wield your power or will you continue to surrender it to circumstances? The choice is yours. Now let us validate this teaching by connecting it to the cutting edge of modern science, to show you that what Wattles taught a century ago is not mysticism or wishful thinking, but a precise description of how reality operates at the quantum level. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon called the quantum Zeno effect, named after the ancient Greek philosopher Zeno and his paradoxes of motion. The quantum Zeno effect states that a quantum system cannot change its state while it is being continuously observed. In other words, if you keep staring at a particle in a certain state, if you keep measuring it, if you keep watching it, it will remain frozen in that state and will not evolve into a different state. The act of observation itself prevents the change from happening. This is not a theory. This is an experimentally verified fact of quantum mechanics, and it has profound implications for understanding the power of consciousness over reality. Now apply this to your life. When you keep staring at your problem with fear, when you keep observing your lack with anxiety, when you keep measuring your debt with worry, you are freezing that problem in place. You are applying the quantum Zeno effect to your circumstances. Your continuous observation of the problem, your continuous focus on what is wrong, your continuous agreement with the appearance, all of this is preventing the system from changing. You are holding it in its current state by the very act of watching it with the same consciousness that created it. This is why people who obsess over their problems never solve them. This is why people who constantly check their bank balance never see it grow. This is why people who monitor their limitations never transcend them. They are applying the quantum Zeno effect, using their consciousness to freeze the very reality they want to change. But here is the key. The quantum Zeno effect only applies when you observe the system in the same way, from the same state of consciousness. If you shift your observation, if you change the way you are looking at the system, if you observe it from a different state, the state of sovereignty, the state of dominion, the state of faith in the thinking stuff's responsiveness, then the system is no longer frozen. It is free to change, it is free to evolve, it is free to rearrange itself into a new pattern. This is exactly what Wattles was teaching when he said, "You must not be impressed by appearances." When he said you must think from the end rather than toward the end. When he said you must feel wealthy while you are still broke. He was telling you to shift your observation, to stop watching the problem with fear and start watching the solution with faith. And when you do this, you unfreeze the quantum state. You release the thinking stuff from its current form, and you allow it to rearrange into the new form you're holding in your mind. This is not just a nice metaphor. This is the actual mechanism by which thought creates reality. At the quantum level, Particles exist in a state of superposition. They are in all possible states at once until they are observed, and the act of observation collapses the wave function into a single state. Your circumstances are the same. They exist in a state of infinite possibility until you observe them. And the way you observe them, with fear or faith, with lack or abundance, with victimhood or dominion, determines which possibility collapses into your physical reality. If you observe your life from the consciousness of poverty, you collapse the wave function into poverty. If you observe your life from the consciousness of wealth, you collapse the wave function into wealth. The circumstances themselves are neutral, fluid, waiting for your observation to give them form. And this is why Wattles insisted that you must control your thoughts, that you must discipline your mind, that you must refuse to let appearances impress you. Because every thought is an observation, and every observation is an act of creation. The quantum Zeno effect also explains why persistence is so crucial in the application of the dominion force. If you apply the force for a day, and then go back to observing the problem with fear, you have unfrozen the system for a moment, but then immediately frozen it again in the old state. You have not given the new observation enough time to collapse the wave function into the new reality. You must maintain the new observation, the new consciousness, the new state of dominion, continuously and persistently, until the quantum system has fully transitioned into the new state. This is why Wattles said you must think in the certain way all the time, not just occasionally. This is why he said you must hold the vision with unwavering faith, not letting doubt creep in. Because every moment of doubt is a moment of observing the old state, and every moment of observing the old state is a moment of freezing it in place and preventing the change you desire. So the validation from quantum mechanics is clear. Consciousness is not separate from reality. It is the force that shapes reality at the most fundamental level. The observer is not a passive witness. The observer is an active creator. And the way you observe your life, the thoughts you think, the feelings you feel, the words you speak, determines the reality you experience. This is not New Age mysticism. This is quantum physics. This is the science of getting rich, validated by the science of the universe. And now that you know this, now that you understand the mechanism, you have no excuse for remaining a victim of circumstances. You know that you are not observing reality. You are creating it. And if you don't like what you are creating, you must change your observation. You must shift from fear to faith, from lack to abundance, from victimhood to dominion. And when you do, the quantum state will shift, the thinking stuff will respond, and your circumstances will change. It is law. The implications of this are staggering. It means that every moment you spend worrying about your problems, you are making them worse. Every moment you spend complaining about your circumstances, you are cementing them. Every moment you spend observing your lack, you are creating more lack. But it also means that every moment you spend in the state of dominion, every moment you spend feeling wealthy, every moment you spend observing your life from the consciousness of abundance, you are dissolving the old reality and creating the new one. You are unfreezing the quantum state. You are releasing the thinking stuff. You are collapsing the wave function into the reality you desire. And if you can maintain this observation, if you can persist in this state, if you can refuse to be pulled back into the old consciousness, the physical evidence must appear. It is not a matter of if, it is only a matter of when. And the when is determined by the intensity and persistence of your observation, by the strength and constancy of your dominion force. This is why masters seem to manifest effortlessly, while others struggle for years. Masters understand the quantum Zeno effect, even if they don't call it by that name. They understand that their consciousness is the creative force, that their observation shapes reality, and so they guard their consciousness jealously. They do not allow themselves to observe lack, to think poverty, to speak limitation. They maintain the observation of abundance, the thought of wealth, the feeling of dominion, regardless of what the physical world is showing them. And because they maintain this observation consistently, the quantum state shifts quickly. The thinking stuff responds rapidly, and the manifestation appears almost effortlessly. This is not magic. This is mastery. This is understanding the law and working with it rather than against it. And now you have the knowledge. The only question is, will you apply it? Let me give you a concrete illustration of the Dominion Force in action, a story that will show you how this power works in real life, not in theory. There was a person, let's call him David, who was living in a tiny, cramped apartment in a rundown part of the city. The apartment was so small that he could barely move, so dark that he needed lights on even during the day, so depressing that every moment he spent there drained his energy and his hope. He hated that apartment. He hated the neighborhood. He hated the fact that he couldn't afford anything better. And every day he would come home and feel like a failure, like a victim of his circumstances, like someone who was stuck and would never escape. This is the state most people live in, hating their circumstances, feeling trapped by them, waiting for something external to change so they can feel better. But one day, David learned about the Dominion Force. He learned that his circumstances were not his master, that they were merely the outpicturing of his past thinking, and that he had the power to change them by changing his consciousness. And he decided to apply the protocol. The first thing he did was withdraw his assent. He looked at the apartment and said, "This is not my reality. This is a temporary appearance. I do not accept this as permanent. I am not stuck here." And in that moment, he stopped hating the apartment. He stopped complaining about it. He stopped using his word to affirm his limitation. He withdrew his agreement with the appearance. Then he applied the solvent. He began to think the truth of abundance. Every day, multiple times a day, he would close his eyes and visualize himself living in a beautiful, spacious home filled with light and peace. He would feel the gratitude of having that home. He would walk through the rooms in his imagination. He would sit in the garden. He would feel the joy of living in a place that reflected his true worth. And he did this not as a fantasy, not as an escape from his reality, but as an act of creation. He was impressing the thinking stuff with the vision of the new home, and he was feeling it as if it were already real. He was applying the heat to the ice, and he was doing it consistently, persistently, without wavering. But here is where David did something that most people never do. He acted as a conqueror. Instead of treating the tiny apartment with contempt, instead of letting it remain dirty and cluttered and depressing, he decided to overfill his present place. He cleaned that apartment until it sparkled. He organized every corner. He bought a few inexpensive decorations and made it as beautiful as he could. He treated that tiny space with the same care and love that he would treat a mansion. And every time he walked through the door, instead of feeling like a victim, he felt like a king who was preparing his kingdom for expansion. He was proving, through his actions, that he was not defined by his circumstances, that he was bigger than his environment, that he was ready for more. For weeks, nothing seemed to change. The apartment was still small, the neighborhood was still run down, his bank account was still empty. But David did not waver. He maintained the vision. He maintained the feeling. He maintained the actions of a conqueror. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, a series of events began to unfold. A friend mentioned a job opportunity in another city. David applied, even though it seemed like a long shot. He got an interview. The interview went well. He got the job, and the job came with a relocation package that included housing. Within 3 months of starting the Dominion Protocol, David found himself living in a beautiful home, in a vibrant neighborhood, earning more money than he had ever earned before, surrounded by opportunities he never could have imagined. The tiny apartment was a distant memory, a shadow that had dissolved in the light of his vision. Now you might say this was luck, coincidence, good timing. But David knew better. He knew that the job opportunity, the interview, the relocation package, all of it was the thinking stuff responding to his vision, arranging circumstances to match the mental image he had been holding with faith and persistence. He knew that the outer world had shifted because the inner world had shifted first. He knew that he had not escaped his circumstances. He had overpowered them. He had applied the Dominion Force, and the circumstances had yielded, just as Wattles promised they would. This is not a fairy tale. This is the law in action. And it works for anyone who applies it with the same commitment, the same persistence, the same refusal to be impressed by appearances. The key lesson from David's story is this: He did not wait for his circumstances to change before he changed his consciousness. He changed his consciousness first, and the circumstances had no choice but to follow. He did not wait for the mansion before he felt like a king. He felt like a king in the tiny apartment, and the mansion appeared. He did not wait for the money before he acted with abundance. He acted with abundance while he was broke, and the money came. This is the reversal, the reverse bridge, the secret that separates masters from victims. And if you can grasp this, if you can live this, if you can apply this in your own life, there is no limit to what you can create. The walls of your prison are not real, they are shadows. And the moment you turn on the light of your dominion force, the shadows disappear, and you are free. We have journeyed together through the mechanics of dominion, through the logic of creation, through the protocol of power. And now we arrive at the synthesis, the place where all the threads come together into a single, undeniable truth. Circumstances are not the boss of you. You are the boss of them. They are not solid walls that limit your movement. They are fluid substance that responds to your command. They are not permanent facts that you must accept. They are temporary appearances that you can change. They are merely the shadows cast by your past thoughts. And shadows have no power except the power you give them by believing they are real. Change the light, and the shadow moves instantly. Change your consciousness, and your circumstances must follow. This is not a hopeful philosophy. This is the fundamental law of reality, the way the universe operates at its deepest level. Everything you have learned in this video points to one conclusion. You are not a victim of your environment. You are the creator of it. You are not trapped by your circumstances. You are the one who has been sustaining them by continuing to think them, to feel them, to speak them, to agree with them. And the moment you stop sustaining them, the moment you withdraw your energy and redirect it toward a new vision, the old circumstances begin to dissolve. They must dissolve because they have no independent existence. They are not things. They are thoughts that have taken form, and thoughts can be changed in an instant. The ice can melt, the walls can crumble, the prison can disappear. Not through struggle, not through force, not through years of effort, but through the simple application of a superior power, the power of consciousness directed with purpose and sustained with faith. This is the synthesis of power, understanding that the outer world is always a reflection of the inner world, that the physical is always the effect of the mental, that circumstances are always the outpicturing of consciousness. And once you understand this, once you truly grasp it, you can never again see yourself as powerless. You can never again blame your situation on external forces. You can never again wait for permission from the world to claim your greatness. Because you know that the world is not giving you permission. The world is taking orders from you. It is responding to your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions. It is the canvas on which you paint, the clay you mold, the substance you impress. And if you don't like what you see, you don't blame the canvas. You change the painting. The power is in your hands. It always has been. The only reason you didn't know it is because you were looking in the wrong direction. You were looking at the circumstances for your power, when your power was always in your consciousness. You were looking at the physical world for your wealth, when your wealth was always in your mental world, waiting to be impressed upon the thinking stuff. You were looking at the past for your identity, when your identity is always being created in the present moment by the way you think, the way you feel, the way you speak, the way you act. You are not a finished product. You are a work in progress. You are not a fixed entity. You are a creative force. And the moment you accept this, the moment you claim this, the moment you live this, everything changes. The synthesis is complete. You now know the secret. You now have the protocol. You now understand the law. The only question that remains is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you apply it, or will you let it remain a nice idea? Will you wield your power, or will you continue to surrender it to circumstances? Will you stand up and claim your dominion, or will you continue to bow to appearances? The choice is yours, and the choice is now. There is no more time to wait, no more excuses to make, no more reasons to remain small. The walls of your prison are dissolving. The door is open. All you have to do is walk through it. There is no wall thick enough to block the power of the formless substance, There is no debt deep enough to drown the power of the infinite. There is no limitation strong enough to contain the force of a consciousness that knows its own dominion. You have been living like a prisoner in your own life, rattling the bars of a cage that was never locked, crying out for rescue when you had the key in your pocket the whole time. But now you know the truth. Now you see the illusion. Now you understand that the bars were not made of iron, they were made of belief, and belief can be changed in an instant. The moment you stop believing in the power of circumstances and start believing in the power of your consciousness, the bars disappear. The cage vanishes. The prison was never real. Stop acting like a prisoner. Stop waiting for someone to save you. Stop looking at your circumstances with fear and resignation. Stop complaining about how hard your life is. Stop seeking sympathy for your struggles. Stop fighting the old reality that is already dead. Stop giving your power away to appearances, to opinions, to limitations that exist only in your mind. Stand up. Look at your life with the eyes of a creator. See the thinking stuff that permeates everything, waiting for your command. See the infinite possibilities that surround you, waiting for your choice. See the power that has always been yours, waiting for you to claim it. And then claim it. Not tomorrow, not when things get better, not when you feel ready. Now, right now, in this moment, claim your dominion. Apply the force of your focused mind. Withdraw your assent from every limitation. Stop agreeing with poverty, with lack, with stuckness, with powerlessness. Look at your problems and say, "You have no authority over me. You are a temporary appearance, and I do not accept you as my reality." And then apply the solvent. Think the truth of abundance. Feel the reality of wealth. See the vision of freedom. Hold it in your mind with unwavering faith. Do not let the appearance impress you. Impress the appearance with your vision, and then act as a conqueror. Expand in the face of contraction. Give when you feel like hoarding. Move when you feel like hiding. Overfill your present place. Prove through your actions that you are not defined by your circumstances, that you are bigger than your problems, that you are the master of your fate. And watch what happens. Watch as the walls of your prison turn into doors. Watch as the obstacles that seemed immovable begin to dissolve. Watch as opportunities appear from nowhere, as resources flow to you from unexpected sources, as your entire reality rearranges itself to match the vision you have been holding in your mind. This is not magic, this is law, this is not luck, this is creation. This is not a miracle, this is the natural result of consciousness applied with purpose, persistence, and power. You are not hoping for change, you are commanding it. You are not wishing for abundance, you are creating it. You are not waiting for freedom, you are claiming it. And the universe has no choice but to respond, because you are not asking, you are declaring, you are not pleading, you are commanding. You are not a victim, you are a master. This is the message of empowerment that Wattles left for you. This is the legacy of the masters. This is the secret that has been hidden in plain sight for centuries, waiting for those who are ready to see it, to grasp it, to wield it. You are one of those people. You would not be here watching this video, reading these words, if you were not ready. The universe does not make mistakes. You are here because it is your time. It is your time to stop being a creature of circumstance and become a creator of reality. It is your time to stop living in fear and start living in power. It is your time to stop accepting limitation and start claiming dominion. The walls are dissolving. The prison is opening. The only question is, will you walk out, or will you stay inside out of habit, out of fear, out of the comfort of the familiar? The choice is yours. But know this, you are free. You have always been free, and now you know it. I want to leave you with a challenge, a test of your commitment to this power, a way to prove to yourself that you are serious about claiming your dominion. I call it the No Complaints Challenge, and it is simple, but not easy. For the next 48 hours, you are forbidden from complaining about any circumstance, not out loud, not in your head, not to yourself, not to others. No complaints, no victim talk, no sympathy dumping. No describing your problems as if they are bigger than you. For 48 hours, you will guard your consciousness like a fortress, and you will refuse to let any thought, word, or feeling of limitation pass through the gates. This is the ultimate test of sovereignty, the ultimate practice of dominion, the ultimate proof that you are the master of your mind and not its slave. But here is the key. If you encounter a problem during these 48 hours, and you will, you must immediately state the truth opposite to it. If you look at your bank account and feel poor, you must immediately say, internally or out loud, I am not broke. I am in the process of receiving. Abundance is flowing to me now. If you face an obstacle and feel stuck, you must immediately say, I am not stuck. I am in the process of expansion. The way is opening before me. If you feel limited in any way, you must immediately affirm the truth of your freedom, your power, your dominion. This is not denial, this is correction. You are correcting the error, withdrawing your assent from the lie, and impressing the thinking stuff with the truth. And if you can do this for 48 hours, if you can maintain this discipline, if you can refuse to complain even once, you will feel a shift in your consciousness so profound, so powerful, that you will never be the same. You will have tasted dominion, and once you taste it, you will never go back to victimhood. This challenge will reveal to you how much of your day is spent complaining, how much of your energy is wasted on affirming limitation, how much of your creative power is being drained by the power leak. And it will also show you how strong you really are, how much control you really have, how much power you really possess. Most people will fail this challenge within the first hour. They will complain about traffic, about the weather, about their job, about their body, about something, and they will not even realize they are doing it because complaining has become such an unconscious habit. But if you can catch yourself, if you can stop yourself, if you can redirect yourself toward the truth, you will be building the muscle of dominion. And that muscle, once built, will serve you for the rest of your life. So here is the final call to action. If you are ready to stop being a victim of reality and start being its master, if you are ready to claim your dominion and wield the dominion force, if you are ready to prove that you are the creator and not the creature, then take the No Complaints Challenge starting right now. And as a sign of your commitment, subscribe to the Master's Legacy. This channel is not for the casual observer. It is for those who are serious about transformation, who are hungry for truth, who are willing to do the work that mastery requires. Every video on this channel is designed to give you the tools, the knowledge, the techniques that the great masters use to bend reality to their will. And if you stay with us, if you apply what you learn, if you commit to the path of dominion, your life will change in ways you cannot yet imagine. Go to the comments right now and type, I accept the challenge, I have dominion, and then live it. For the next 48 hours, guard your consciousness, refuse to complain, affirm the truth, apply the dominion force, and watch as the walls of your prison turn into doors. Watch as your circumstances begin to shift. Watch as the power you have always had but never used begins to surge through you like electricity, like fire, like the unstoppable force of creation itself. You are not a victim. You are not a creature. You are a creator. And the time to create is now. The Master's Legacy is waiting for you. Your dominion is waiting for you. Claim it.